on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Saturday. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. As usual, Bitcoin is down. Is anybody actually surprised to see this? Essentially what happened was we tried to break above the 7.3K level. You can see we tried once, twice, and then we kind of got stomped out around the 7.26 and we dumped, okay? So what does this mean for Bitcoin? Well, realistically, guys, we are actually at a very critical level. I know we've been saying that for quite some time, but we really actually seriously are. I do have some good news and I do have some bad news. So we're going to go over all that today. Definitely stick around. I'm going to make sure you get the most value out of today's video. And also I want to say thank you for everyone that wished me happy birthday yesterday. However, today is my actual birthday, guys. And actually, if you remember last year, we pretty much bottomed right around my birthday. It was literally the day after my birthday. Bitcoin had the bottom. So Crypto Zombie birthday bottom round 2? Well, we'll see, guys. We'll see. Also, I don't accept donations, nothing like that. If you guys want, just, drop a comment, anything like that. Drop a like. You can use a link if you want. But guys, ultimately, I just love when you stop by the channel. That's really all I care about. And yes, we do this every single day, even on my birthday. And we give ledgers away every Monday. So if you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Also, I do have some other news. I want to talk about Bitcoin's potential big move. We need to look at the Bollinger Bands, okay? And there's also a dirty little secret that investment businesses are not telling you, and how you can potentially make even more money than these crazy guys on Wall Street. We're going to get into all that today. If that sounds good to you, you guys know what to do. Now, having a look right here, Bitcoin dominance has fallen down 0.1%. Well, where is it going? Well, you can see right here, Tether is actually 0.23% up. In fact, it was sitting at $1.01 earlier. And if we have a look at the money flow, you can see if we go down to US dollar into Bitcoin, there's only about $230 million in the past 24 hours, where Tether is showing 1.39 billion. So what does this mean? We're going to get into that moving forward. But really quick, guys, before we get into the charts, you can see right here, we literally touched down again. I do have to make a super quick announcement on yesterday's video. I actually made a mistake. I'm sorry. I screwed up the pricing. Essentially, guys, the VID token sale is increasing by 1 cent every day until the actual release of the app, even, beyond the beta. So you can actually see down here, essentially it increases by 1 penny all the way up to $1 on January 25th. All right. I just wanted to just say that I screwed up. I didn't mention it, but also it was really cool of the team is since I made a mistake, they are allowing anybody, if you want, you can use the link in the description and you can basically get it for yesterday's price. Okay. But that's only for me. It's only for this channel. So basically, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, check out yesterday's video. But that being said, let's dive in. Let's talk about this price, because essentially you can see right here, we pretty much did touch the bottom again of this basically trend that was holding us up right before we had the 50% fall. And if we do fall below that, we do risk potentially falling back to the 6.8K, 6K level. We've gone over this time and time again, right? You can see we are sitting right here, sort of between where the VPVR had the most volume and this critical zone. And I said, if we fall anywhere in here, I mean, you could see, maybe you can't see behind me, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, the VPVR literally just falls off a cliff. There's basically no volume there whatsoever. And Bitcoin does risk potentially falling all the way down to, like I said, that 6.6K level again. Now, that being said, guys, I do want to mention that John Bollinger, you may be familiar with him. He is the inventor, the creator of Bollinger Bands. He says most cryptocurrencies are at or near Bollinger Band squeeze levels. Time to pay attention. Now, I do want to mention over here, Carpe Noctem pointed out that every time these Bollinger Bands get to these levels, we look for double-digit moves for Bitcoin. 24%, 30%, 22%, 30%, right? Having a look right now, though, the problem is that you see this pink line that actually goes in the middle of the bands. This is called the basis, okay? Generally, when you're sitting above it, like for example, down here, you can see we're sitting above. We have a breakout to the, to the upside. Yeah, I mean, but right now, currently, we are sitting below it. But the point I'm trying to make is that we are looking for a very, very big move. You can see we're basically around the same size that we were here before that, crazy China pump, right? A little bit bigger than we were here before the start of the run. So that is something that we do need to keep our eyes on. But a lot of people are still very, very bearish. They're basically saying that we're just putting in the same pattern that we put in at the end of, 2017, and then we're just going to fall down and go into another, really long bear market, right? Well, you can see that we do have that potential to fall down here, okay? We would look to get supported by the legacy trend at around the 6.6K level, but we could fall to the bottom of this, which would be the $6,157 level. Now, do keep in mind, we could also break to the upside, which would be at around $1,300, okay? But we do have the situation where we are currently sitting below the basis of the Bollinger Band, so that's not necessarily good, but not all doom and gloom. Let me show you something, and let me explain to you why people that are comparing this pattern essentially to this pattern, they're wrong, okay? And this is why they're wrong, okay? I'm just gonna call it out here, is because this is a descending triangle, okay? And descending triangles have a very high probability of breaking to the downside. In fact, this right here was a descending triangle that we put in where we started from the peak all the way to that drop that we had right around the end of September. That was a triangle, okay? This is a descending wedge. Now, I just want to point this out, not trying to spread hopium, I just want to be realistic about this. A falling wedge is actually typically a reversal pattern. You can see even in the example here, this came from a pump that went into a dump and then it turned into a reversal. They give other examples down here. You can see this, yeah, I mean, essentially this was falling, and then it broke out. So essentially it is technically a bullish pattern. So does this mean that Bitcoin is just going to blast through the roof tomorrow? No, it doesn't. But what it does mean is that Bitcoin could be looking for a reversal relatively soon, meaning we may have one more sort of final dip, down to some of these levels right here, and then we may bounce up to the top and even have that breakout that we're looking for, right? Now, one other bullish thing that we have mentioned is the fact that we did have the golden cross on the weekly. Now, you could see the last time that we had that golden cross back here, Bitcoin basically put in this giant multi-year bull run. But the question is, will we have the same setup again? Well, let's have a look. History doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it often does rhyme, right? You can see back here, we had the top from the bear all the way down to the bottom. You can see Bitcoin fell essentially from a peak at around over, $1,100 all the way down to about $163. My goodness, that must have been devastating, right? Well, you can see we had a very similar fall right here. Then Bitcoin did have this sort of, bounce back region where then we did put in the golden cross. But I do want to mention that during that time period, Bitcoin also did fall down. And just to put things into perspective, during this blue zone, which I do consider us to be in, Bitcoin actually fell lower than even the lower level of the triangle, which was sitting at around $412. Bitcoin fell down to $352 before actually putting in this run from the golden cross. Now, if you actually look at what we're doing right now, you could essentially say that the bottom of this triangle was around the $6,000 level. So considering the bottom of the previous one down here was around, 412, and we fell below that, does that put the chances of falling below a $6,000 Bitcoin out of the cards before having that bounce back? No, it doesn't. Okay, so I just wanted to be realistic. We could potentially fall down to $6,000 before having that reversal, very similar to, this sort of fall that we had down here, this little wick, okay? Not exactly, 100% similar, but I just wanted to point that out before everybody, starts freaking out and saying that Bitcoin is dead again. Also, Galaxy, if Bitcoin falls to 5,900 to 6,200, I'm publicly opening a long and will not close it until 25K or liquidation. Well, there you go. So basically, this guy is looking for a 25K Bitcoin. But here's one other little bit of good news short term. This is very short term, okay? But this is the CME futures, and we did close, keep in mind, they don't run over the weekends. We actually closed at $7,240. So if Bitcoin does potentially fall below $7,240, by the time Monday comes around, well, then there's a good chance we're gonna fill that gap and pump back up to it anyway. Now, on the other hand, if we do end up having a pump over the weekend and we're sitting well above it, then we're probably going to have to come back down to fill that gap. So just wanted to remind you guys, it is the weekend and we do look to fill these gaps, but why don't we just take it from John McAfee? In 5 years, Bitcoin is up 4,082%. In the last 52 weeks, it's up 129%. In the last month, it's up 10%. And the last 5 days, it's up 1.71. Fiat. Well, I mean, let's be real. It doesn't look that great in the short term, but yes, on the year, we are looking great and we have outperformed pretty much everything. But I want to show you something, okay? Do you guys know what chart this is? Do you guys know? You probably guessed because you read it, but yes, this is Amazon. And the reason that I'm showing you this is because Amazon right here, okay, you can see right here, it had this peak on, December 6th of 1999. And I want to show you something from that top to the bottom, okay? Amazon stock essentially fell 95%, okay? And it had a bottom right here on October 1st of 2001. So it basically fell during that entire year and a half, all the way down 95%, only to eventually from that point, let's see how far it's up now, to pump, 31,499%, okay? So the point I'm trying to make is, can you imagine all the people that sold down there? Can you imagine how bad they're kicking themselves right now? Now, had they played it and, sold here, bought back in, that's one thing. But imagine the people that just threw in the towel. We're down 95%. This thing is not going to go to the moon, okay? Nobody cares. I'm washing my hands of it and I'm walking away, right? Well, when you think about the Bitcoin chart right now, you got to ask yourself, are you walking away too soon here? Not financial advice, guys. We could go lower, but let's be honest. At this point, this is the accumulation phase. Now, here's the article I wanted to go into: how you can get big gains that Wall Street can't. A dirty secret of the investment business is that fund managers don't buy and hold, not because they don't want to, but because they can't. This is an interesting article. I'll drop this below. However, Bitcoinists did take an opportunity to essentially, pack this into a small package. So basically, getting back on the topic of Amazon roared from a valuation of 300 million to above 13 billion in years. And for the sake of balance and not depending on a single stock, well, guess what? These funds actually had to sell. Okay. So you can essentially see right here, started in the middle of the article, should have probably started at the beginning, but essentially large funds are constrained by rules and profitability and portfolio balancing, right? Hence, they may be forced to shed assets like Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin has a potential to go to the moon, right? So far, stock section rules and the fact that fund managers do need to show profitability, right? They have to show that they're profitable in their reports. That means that big funds have actually missed out on some of the biggest potential gainers because they're not going to hold during those dips. And if they had to invest in Bitcoin and crypto assets, they may potentially arrive, and this is according to Jason Swag, essentially saying, this is Ceterius Paribus, basically saying that they may end up buying Bitcoin at 1 trillion when Bitcoin is already well established. Now, maybe not a $1 trillion Bitcoin, but a $1 trillion market cap, that's very possible. In fact, all of cryptocurrency hit a market cap of $800 billion at the all-time high. Actually, I think some even reported like 888 billion or something like that, right? So they actually give an example of one particular fund that did tremendously well for decades. The stock was in the hands of insiders and small-scale investors, just like for years and years and years, Bitcoin has been in the hands of essentially the retail, right? The cypherpunks, right? It wasn't in the institutions' hands. They just came in recently, right? So essentially, and by the way, if you want to actually see what this chart looks like, I'll show you right here. This essentially right here is Jack Henry and Associates, right? And you can see it had a little bit of a 65% pullback right here, and then it essentially skyrocketed. So long story short, now more than 94% of this stock is in the hands of investors, but they did not hold on to the asset during the years when its value was temporarily wiped out. So in the case of Bitcoin, institutional investors moved in when the asset was already trading at moon prices, right? Well above $10,000, but no fund would have held Bitcoin, from when it was $30 down to $2 or $1,000 down to $100, like we just talked about before. Investors may be yet to move in at much higher valuations. And you could literally see these guys coming in at the top. They don't care. The trend's up. Okay, let's hop in, right? Just wanted to mention that moving forward. And actually, the Moon said on Twitter, I think Bitcoin might in the future behave like a Veblen good. A Veblen good is something that is desirable because of its high price. Examples are diamonds, Ferraris, Gucci, etc. Imagine when Bitcoin is above $1 million, will millionaires use Bitcoin to flex? And this actually reminded me of something I just recently watched. Have you guys seen this show on Netflix, Explained? It's easily become one of my favorite shows. And their most recent episode was on diamonds and the diamond industry and De Beers and how they manipulated the price and how then, these guys that were able to basically get all the imperfections out of the diamonds, they were selling them, but then De Beers did it as well, but they sold it for prices lower than their competitors to try to get people to buy, the tarnished diamonds. You guys got to check it out. It reminded me so much of Bitcoin, so much of what we talk about with the manipulation, and you guys definitely have to check it out. It's on Netflix, Explained. Just go look at it. So also, check this out. So we do have a prediction from Blockchain Capital for 2020, and they say that Bitcoin is likely to blow past its all-time high of $20,000 next year. They do target an amount for $5 billion for DeFi. They think that Libra will get approved as a stable coin. They predict that John McAfee's prediction of $1 billion will totally be wrong, come on, $1 billion by next year, guys. Although he is still holding on to that $2 billion by 2020, or else he's got to eat his manhood on TV. You know about that. And they also think that major crypto exchanges will be delisting privacy coins. So they all sound like very reasonable predictions, I'd say. Also, I want to talk about some good news for Bitcoin. So we have some upgrades to the Lightning Network, essentially according to a report by Decrypt, sending larger secure payments across Lightning will be very possible in the near term. And I can already hear you saying, oh yeah, sure. They always say, oh, the update's coming, the update's coming. Well, all right, guys, take it with a grain of salt. But essentially, these tests were essentially conducted to make multipath payments interoperable, a development that will enable payments to be broken up into smaller parts so that large amounts of Bitcoin can be sent through the Lightning Network in a way that is quick as well as cost effective. Now, we do know in the past, for example, you've had Dyer reporting that the increase in number of nodes and fund capacity hasn't really mattered too much for Bitcoin. The reliability of success, they said, wasn't too good. It added up that the success rate for a payment was about 70%, right? So clearly Lightning Network does need a lot of work, guys, but keep in mind, it's the beginning. The internet wasn't perfect when it came out originally either, right? But they are working on it, and this is exactly what we need, is that type of support. Now, quick altcoin news. So Vechain Foundation is calling on all crypto exchanges across the globe to block $1.1 billion worth of their VET token, essentially, or coin, because, yeah, it got stolen, I guess. So basically, they think it was an inside job. It was around $650,000. They say the breach was due to misconduct of one of the team members. And a lot of these things do end up being insider jobs. Let's just be honest about that. Let's just say what it is realistically, right? But they do say that this had nothing to do with the effectiveness of the actual standard procedure or Vechain's hardware wallet solutions. And honestly, Vechain's only down 9%. I'll give it a refresh live. I mean, yeah, it looks like it's actually going up in price. So that didn't really get hit that hard. So, I mean, I've seen a lot worse dumps after something like a hack like that. So, yeah, I mean, if you're holding Vechain, that's not that bad of a hit, a 9% hit on news like that. Also, you guys know about the QuadrigaCX thing, all right? We've gone over it, right? So basically now in a letter sent to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on behalf of users of the bankrupt exchange, the law firm of Miller Thompson LLP is essentially requesting that they dig up the body and basically prove that the CEO, Gerald Cotton, is dead. Yeah, this thing is still happening, guys. If you don't even know what I'm talking about, check out my Bitcoin Black Swan event video. It should be popping above right now. But yeah, so this thing just never dies. Also, the white paper for Facebook's proposed Libra currency has been quietly updated. The biggest change is the removal of dividends payable to those early investors. So Libra's association members, mention of dividends has now been removed, and now currently it reads, interest on the reserve assets will be used to cover the costs of the system, ensure low transaction fees, and support further growth and adoption. Now, basically, they say that if dividends are paid from the interest on these assets, this gives incentive to load the reserves with higher risk assets, which in turn would reduce the trust in an uptake of Libra because the supported stablecoin could lose their value. But I mean, realistically, it's most likely just because it'll be considered a security, let's be honest. Okay, and on that news, I do want to end on one piece of good news, and then let's get on out of here, guys, because it is my birthday and I would like to celebrate it. So Switzerland-based cryptocurrency bank SEBA has expanded its services to 9 new countries. Why am I ending on this news? Well, accounts are now fully functional in Hong Kong, Singapore, UK, Italy, Germany, France, Austria, Portugal, and the reason why this is so great is because they do support 5 major cryptocurrencies in their e-banking services and wallets, which include Bitcoin, Ethereum, Stellar, Litecoin, and Ethereum Classic. And on that note, guys, I'm getting the heck on out of here. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Of course, I'm going to make a video tomorrow. You do know that. Now, having a look right here, what are we doing? Freaking Bitcoin chart. But let me know what you guys think. I mean, like I said, Bitcoin is where I consider to be damn near at the bottom. Could we fall lower? Absolutely. We may have that wick down to $6,000. You know, the 200-week moving average, I think, will be sitting at around 5,200 if we do fall to that point. But like I said, guys, we do know where this chart is going logarithmically. We've had 4 parabolic advances in 10 years. Name one asset that's ever done anything like that in the history. I'm sure there's something that did something like that. But guys, that's it for me. I'm rambling. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. If you do want the ledger, drop a comment below. That's it for me. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Turn on the bell notification because YouTube loves to just turn it off without notifying people. And that is it for me. Enjoy your freaking day. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe out there. If you're trading, you know, it can get a little crazy right now with these prices. And also, Bollinger Bands are tight. We are looking for a big move. Could it happen this weekend? Possibly. Monday. You know, we might have to fill that stadium gap. That's it for me. You rock. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Once again, my name is Vito. I love you guys. Until next time, stay crypto. And peace out.